I think I'm gonna do a gear video today on my favorite gear of 2019. Those videos usually do pretty well. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Dan. I'm into hiking and backpacking and gear, all the things like that. So if you guys are into that stuff too, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. So 2020 is here. The decade is finally over. So many advancements in backpacking were made, from materials to gear to just ultralight just taking off like crazy, and hammocking became a thing. I mean, it was probably older than 10 years, but I mean, it really became a thing in the past few years of this decade. So all these cool things have happened. So I thought I would talk to you about my favorite gear of 2019. This isn't necessarily the best gear out there, but it is my favorite gear that I've used this past year in 2019. Okay, right away, let me tell you, this gear is in absolutely no particular order whatsoever. This isn't like the #1 favorite and the #5 favorite. This is just, I'm grabbing them as I see them, I'm picking them up and I'm showing them to the camera. So no particular order whatsoever. So the first favorite piece of gear of 2019 that I grabbed is my Nemo Tensor insulated regular wide pad. This revolutionized tent camping for me. From I hate to do it, I'd much rather sleep in a hammock, to I would rather sleep in a tent. And I'm kind of admitting that right now. I do love the hammock thing, and I still am gonna hammock camp, but man, this has just made tenting as comfortable, for me anyway, as sleeping in a hammock. So the Nemo Tensor regular wide pad, definitely want to check this thing out. If you guys don't own this thing, it is worth the investment in my opinion. All right, so the next piece of gear shouldn't come to surprise you guys at all by any means, and it is something I've talked about a ton on this channel over the past year. Since I found this piece of gear, I tried it out and I instantly fell in love with it. And it's also to do with tents, because it is a tent. It's the big Agnes Tigerwall UL 2-person tent. This revolutionized tent camping for me altogether. I love the setup, I love the accessibility, I love how I can get in and out of it, I love how I can easily fit myself and one of my kids in it. I love that it has 2 vestibules on it. There's so many things going for this tent. It only weighs 2.5 pounds with the DAC aluminum poles that come with it to set up the tent. So it's not a trekking pole tent, it's a freestanding, semi-freestanding tent. It does require technically 2 stakes, but I guess there's some workarounds for that. Like you can use your trekking pole to spread apart and pull those 2 stakes apart if you need to make it a freestanding tent, to kind of jimmy rig it. But fantastic tent, highly recommend. Make sure you guys check this thing out if you guys haven't already. A little bit expensive, around 400 bucks, but I'll tell you what, if you're gonna hike a lot, if you're gonna camp a lot, if you're tenting a lot, if you really enjoy that kind of thing, this is a tent that I would highly recommend for you guys. So this next piece of gear has literally been with me on, I think, every single backpacking trip in 2019. Made this process of what I'm about to tell you for backpacking a ton easier. I'll show it to you. Here you go. Ready? It's the Soto Windmaster stove. In my opinion, this thing cooks better than any other stove on the market. I am a canister stove guy altogether. This one has a lot of miles on it, but it boils so quickly in like 2 minutes. And it also has the ability to do like sort of a simmer boil to it. And then it's got the really wide attachment here at the top. You can get it with a smaller version of this, but I like it because I have a 1-liter pot, so it fits nicely on top of it. And it's got a self-igniter on the side, which is really it's got a self-igniter on the side. It's got a self-igniter on the side of it, which makes it really convenient to light it, so you don't have to pull out a lighter or go digging for your lighter to try to light the stove. A little bit expensive. I think this thing runs maybe between $50 and $70, depending on the deal that you can get. But if you're gonna backpack a lot, this thing is bulletproof. Works in low temperatures as well. I've had this thing down to almost 20 degrees, and it did start to kind of have a difficult time boiling water. It was really low flames, but it still worked. I didn't have to lug around like a whisper light or anything like that at all. So great stove, highly recommend it. Definitely in my top 5 for 2019. Also guys, I do have a Patreon as well, and what that is just a way for you guys to help support the channel on a monthly basis. I'll put links to that in the description below. Otherwise, if you guys want to just throw me a tip via PayPal, you can do that if you don't want to make it a monthly thing. I am starting to go full-time on YouTube. Huge change for me and my family, and it helps me to put out more creative, just better content all around for you guys, if you guys are willing to help support me. So if you guys want to do that, I'll leave the information in the description below. I can't remember if I'm counting up or I'm counting down. Is this like the 4th piece of gear I'm showing you? Does that make it like number 4 on the list, or does that make it number 2 and I'm counting to 1? Anyway, here's the 4th piece of gear I'm showing you guys. I've had this thing since March of 2019. It made my other gear items in this category look just completely inadequate as far as quality and comfort. It is the UGQ Bandit Top Quilt. This quickly became my favorite quilt company for so many reasons. They are so innovative, completely customizable. Like, you can literally make this quilt anything you want, any pattern, any color. You can make it any width, any size. They've got just innovative design features from the draft collar to the tensioner, and they've solved the hole at the bottom of the quilt as well by creating a snap that closes up the hole where your feet go. It's just an amazing piece of gear. It's sewn so well. There's not a stitch out of place. I don't have to worry about you know, running a stick along the stitch and having something come loose, anything like that at all. Just a super quality piece of gear. And so this quickly became one of my favorites of 2019. Okay, so this next piece of gear, I've only had it out on 2 trips, but it quickly became a favorite of mine because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is. And I've had maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 miles or so put on this piece of gear, which really isn't a lot. But when you know something's gonna be good and you've had a chance to look at it and try it and play with it and all that good stuff, and just how excited it makes me be to want to backpack, I'm fully confident that this is an awesome piece of gear, and it's going to continue to be an awesome piece of gear. And it is the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest 3400 backpack. So this backpack kind of reminds me about how I felt when I got my UGQ Bandit quilt. Like, I didn't realize that the quality of a Dyneema backpack could be this good. But it's almost bulletproof. It is so well made in every aspect, and it carried extremely heavy gear extremely well. When I went up to Michigan a couple weeks back, and I carried probably about 40 pounds worth of gear on that trip. I was carrying a drone, I was carrying an extra winter jacket because we were supposed to stay a second night and the temp was supposed to drop like 20 degrees. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons why I carried that amount of weight, but this thing carried it extremely well. So this is an honorary mention, all right? It's a piece of gear that was sent to me. I didn't ask for it, I didn't buy it. The company asked me to send them my logo, so I did, and they made me this piece of gear. I was hesitant to mention it because it's not really like a super necessary piece of gear, but it is such a fun piece of gear. I mean, it just makes backpacking, for me anyway, just something I enjoy doing even more, and that is the Hilltop Packs Ditty Bag. How cool is that? You can put your logo on the ditty bag. You can put anything you want on the ditty bag. They will literally print anything that you send them and put it right on the ditty bag, or the backpack, or other kind of bags and things that they make out of Dyneema. They've figured it out how to print really well on Dyneema, and it is really top-notch good quality. So just an honorary mention, Hilltop Packs Ditty Bag, pretty cool piece of gear. All of this stuff that I mentioned to you guys is going to be listed in the description below. If you guys want to go ahead and purchase this stuff, it will help out the channel. The only thing that's not going to help me out really is going to be the Hyperlight Mountain Gear backpack. I don't have any affiliation with them whatsoever, but the other companies, I do have links that if you buy the product, it doesn't cost you any more money whatsoever, but it does help support the channel and what I do here. So if you guys want to do that, that'd be awesome. All right, guys, that's it. That is my favorite gear of 2019. 2020 is only starting right now, and I can't wait to try out other new gear. And I've got more gear that I'm got coming today, actually in the mail to me, that I'm really stoked to try out, that I'll be putting out a video later this month on. I'm going to tell you about 3 new pieces of gear that I think are going to revolutionize this next coming year. And I always love keeping you guys on your toes. Do you guys like keeping on your toes? Anyway, if you guys like this video, please make sure you hit that like button. Also, subscribe for more. Make sure you hit the bell notification so I can send you a video every time it's released. And I will see you on the next one.